Hi, my name is Miss Jordan, and I thought it would be wise to record a video um, speaking to what I have experienced in terms of police misconduct as a woman of color. I have traveled the United States for the past 2.5, 3 years, and in doing such, I have had many experiences with police. Not as someone who was violent, not as someone who was practicing illegal activities, not as someone who was drug addicted, not as somebody who was a criminal per se at all. I was just traveling with limited resources financially. However, I would stay at hotels. I would stay at nice places, 4-star hotels, and in addition to 4-star hotels, I'd backpack half the time. So 50% of the time I was backpacking, the other 50% of the time I was traveling in very nice conditions, shopping, doing my nails, and so on and so forth. So what I really want to address here is that throughout 2.5, 3 years since 2017, coming from California, Los Angeles, California, all the way to Virginia, where I decided to reside, I had experienced an underground network of what I believe to be a transnational organized crime ring. Now, the question is, what does that mean, and how is one correlated to the other? How is police misconduct correlated to transnational organized crime? That is a very good question. So what I did was a lot of research on on the law, justice, civil rights, and basically what officers of the law do to people that they weed out from the rest. So I believe that I was targeted very specifically by officers of the law. Now, it's not just a belief. I've actually compiled approximately 300 exhibits of documentation of photographs of people stalking me, and there are videos of police misconduct against me, brutality, you name it. And I also have testimonials somewhere, maybe testimonials. There have been people who have confessed to me that they knew what they were doing. Let's put it that way. I've had officers lie on camera and arrest me. I've almost died in a police vehicle at one point, simply for going to a restaurant and offering to pay with a voucher from Groupon. When I had offered to pay for this meal with another form of payment, the officer said, well, we'll just say that you're not wanting to pay, and put me in handcuffs and sat me in a seat for half an hour with my hands behind my back, stretched behind my back, and threw me in the back of a vehicle with no windows in it. And I almost suffocated and asphyxiated because there was such poor ventilation, and the way these officers were driving and what they were saying to me as they were driving was causing me to feel nauseous and suffocate. I think the terminology for that in jargon, in Ebonics, is called the paddy wagon. The fact that that's actually a term where people die in vehicles that are police designated vehicles, that is a serious issue. So police reform is a really big topic. I just want to touch on that. Police reform is so important because of the fact that there are so many officers that follow the blue code, not the blue code of loyalty or honor, but the blue code of when you're an officer, you are very unlikely going to be in a situation where you get penalized for misconduct, for abusing the law, for abuse of power, simply because you wear a badge. Now, what I researched as being a traveler and a woman of color, a minority female, African American female, with my civil rights intact, mind you, I am a United States citizen, and being out in the world, their methodology for harassing me personally was to issue trespass notices for doing things like sitting at a coffee shop after purchasing a sandwich and drinking a cup of coffee or a cappuccino or a soy latte or a macchiato, which, I mean, come on. How many people drink macchiatos and get arrested for a trespass notice for sitting at a table? I'm drinking a macchiato. Actually, it was a soy venti chai latte. Misto. But really, why is that such a big issue that someone would actually harass me to the point where an officer takes me into custody when all I asked is for this officer to read me my rights when he was issuing a trespass notice? This is absurd. The first trespass notice I ever received was in Hawaii, when a man had offered to buy me dinner. I thought it was like a date until it went wrong and he dined and ditched. And the manager decided to call the police on me because my card wouldn't go through. In the video recording, this manager says, well, I don't mind if you arrest her. And guess how much that dinner was worth? $20, not even, $19 and something change, which I had committed to the manager to take care of within the next couple of weeks if there was an issue when I came back. But no, he wanted me arrested. So what does that say? I don't know. But following down the succession of events, I was issued a total of approximately 30 trespass notices in a matter of a year and a half. Now, I tell you, I'm infuriated right now, but I am not somebody who is out of control. I'm not someone who is reckless. I'm not someone who is disturbing the peace. I'm not someone who is violent. I'm outspoken, of course. I'm an educated female. I'm outspoken. I believe in certain things. However, it's no one else's business what I believe. I keep to myself when I travel. I make friends easily. I'm very, what's the word? Gregarious. I love conversation. I'm a social butterfly. And so, I found it really easy to travel. However, I also found it very, very challenging when I would spend $1,300 at a Marriott and leave my card and then come back only to be given a trespass notice for picking up my card and charging my computer and cell phone in the lobby, in the restaurant, in the lobby with the manager's express permission. With the manager's permission. And $1,300 down. A day later, I got a trespass notice. I even had a trespass notice given to me at an emergency room. An emergency room. What I believe I was suffering from was acute pneumonia. I had sputum coming out of my throat, out of my lungs, coughing up blood. And they had the audacity when I was waiting for my prescription. The security guards are the integral component that leads up to the trespass notice. And there were security guards, always of Mexican descent, no offense, but this is why I say it may be a TOC group. Transnational organized criminal group. I mean, there's Floros and Rodriguez and Lopez and Vea, and so Where was I? What I'm saying is that this was no mistake. Who gets issued a trespass notice for being at an emergency room, for help, for being sick? This is a national issue. I fled from Los Angeles, California, across the United States, 6 different states, from Los Angeles to Washington to Hawaii to DC. Well, DC isn't a state, it's a district. To DC, to Baltimore, Maryland, rather, to Virginia. About 12 cities later, I fled. I was fleeing. I was not just traveling, maybe. I was traveling, fleeing, leaving, escaping the perils of police misconduct from state to state. And guess what else I found out? I found out that there was fraud in every housing assistance program that I had applied for, that there was discriminatory practices being done so that I could not get proper housing. There were people who did in fact get support, the financial resources that they needed. However, when I would apply, there was never a response. I'd have to hunt people down. I'd have to email people. When I say hunt people down, I mean like, excuse me, could you please tell me what happened to my application? Excuse me, could you please tell me who's in charge of housing? Could you please tell me who handles the programs? Excuse me, I need a place to stay. Could you please inform me of what I can do to stay in this facility? Excuse me, could you please inform me of what's necessary to be considered a victim of crime, which I was a victim of crime. I had been involved in sex trafficking beforehand, and at this venture in time, I was not. I had not been in sex trafficking from 2017 all the way to 2000 now. And so I was fleeing. I was a victim of crime. I had called, who did I call? The Witness Protection Program. I called RAIN. I contacted housing programs, affordable housing programs, you name it. I went to shelters, and I also slept in very nice hotels by myself. But what I'm saying, back to the point, is that I witnessed firsthand police misconduct at its worst in terms of a series of repetitious behaviors of police misconduct that were identical to the other prior to it. That is under RICO laws, racketeering, influence, corruption, organization. A series of patterned, exhibited processes that are cyclical, that keep happening, that are targeted at a select group of people or a certain type of people. I would dare say that people of color, because of all of these series of police misconduct issues and police, what is it called? Police aggression, abuse of power, excessive force issues, which I've had to deal with excessive force as well. But I would dare say that people of color would have a lawsuit against many police divisions for what would be filed under RICO laws, racketeering, influence, corruption, organization practices. Police reform is such a big issue. You know, George Floyd is not the first, and he won't be the last, unfortunately. But I will say what I stand for. Let me have a drink really quick. Energy drink. What I will say what I stand for is for the people who are suffering, the innocent people who are suffering as a direct result of the abuse of power of people who are in uniform. Hold on. So, with all of that said, I gotta go to work. I have videos I'd like to share with you that showcase what these officers have done to me. If you'd like to tune in later, I will be showing those to you, and I will also be presenting my case to the Department of Justice and the Attorney General. What this all led to was receiving 3 counts of penalty of perjury. That means lying under oath. Penalty of perjury for filing a restraining order against an officer of the law. 3 counts and 10 months in jail. I had to serve that time for asking of the law to protect me from the law. And as a retaliatory effort by police and the Commonwealth, I had to serve almost a year in jail. I was surprised the day an officer showed up and said, "You're under arrest. We have a warrant. We have a capias out for you. You have 3 counts of penalty of perjury. The grand jury had decided that you have 3 charges against you. You will wait in jail until your case is heard." A month and a half later, after being in jail by surprise, I was sitting at a library watching YouTube videos like I'm on right now, and an officer shows up and says, "Miss Jordan, you're under arrest." Keep in mind, this was the 12th city maybe that I had fled to, in the middle of a rural town in the grassiest part of the East Coast I could find. And 10 months later, I have 3 felonies on my record for filing a protective restraining order against 1 officer of the law and a second person who by name does not actually exist in the police department. An Officer Polanski, like Roman Polanski, like the producer. I didn't know his name, and yet I still have a felony for that, for a man who doesn't even exist. As the judge said, well, we'll just assume that's who you meant was somebody else. This is not acceptable. And I am hoping and praying for justice for everyone, not just people of color, but innocent people who have suffered at the hands of criminal injustice. So I thought I'd record this video as somebody who has experienced a lot, who has about a 400-page narrative and expose on her stories and travels, and I'd like to share that with all of you soon. So I expect to be giving you more information soon to come. Anyway, I hope all is well with all of you. Stay safe, stay strong, be resilient, and know that justice is right around the corner.